Random tornado warning. Where'd my chat go? Hello? What? Oh, there it is. There it is. I was confused there for a second. What's going on? Let's make sure my levels aren't crazy. How's it? Can we hear everything going on well? Check, check, check. Check. Okay. I'm back. We're going to be doing Monday, Wednesday, Fridays. And then depending on what's going on over the weekend, then we'll be doing weekends too, you know? There's a hurricane. Guys, there's a tornado warning in Louisiana. Shout out to the west of New Orleans. Covenant. Or there it is. Ben Lucher. They have it pointing northwest, but you have converging winds here. I don't know if this is going west. This is just going to be standing still. Not a very good environment for a long-lasting, strong tornado. This thing's probably going to... Wow, is that... What is that? Hold up. Huh. This thing will probably be... We'll lift in a second. Just a radar-indicated tornado. Here, let me show you.
Attention, a new special warning has been issued.
Just a radar-indicated. It's probably not going to be a tornado warning for very long, but Covenant, Ben, Lucher, McElroy, Donaldsonville. Make sure you're paying attention to this. There it is. It's got a little bit of rotation right there. Weird little CC drop here as well, but I don't think that's anything. But weird little CC drop over Willow Grove. There could be a tornado on the ground in here near Lucher. I don't know how to pronounce that, guys. Anyways, I'll just stay on this for a second while this is going on. You know? We'll stay there for a second. Alrighty, what's going on? This is root beer, by the way. Root beer. Loving the below average hurricane season. It does look like we're going to have a below average hurricane season. That is correct. And we're going to get into why. Doesn't mean you can't have a very strong landfalling hurricane. But the odds are lower with the frequency lower. There's always a window in there. Although the window is very small, especially during a super El Nino, which is what we're going to be in. We're going to be in a super El Nino. We're going to go over that too. We're going to go over our Enzo. All that good stuff. Sorry, I've been MIA. Yeah, everyone's saying been a bit. I know. I know. Well, my normal schedule now that I'm trying to make sure I'm committed to is Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Streaming, posting. I'll be posting right after the stream. Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I'll probably take a clip from the stream because we're going to go over some important stuff. But Monday, Wednesday, Friday, posts and streams. And then a post or stream Saturday or Sunday, depending on what's going on. Because I'm trying to at least post content 4 days a week, stream 4 days a week. But I'm trying to spend more time with the kids, get back into the gym. My job is demanding, you know, lots of stuff going on. Tornado warning, by the way, just going to remind everyone, just out to the west of New Orleans. New Orleans and right near Donaldsonville. Radar indicated. Not a super significant looking couplet, but just be careful if you're out here. Might get an EF0, EF1. Maybe some power lines down, maybe some tree damage, maybe some roof damage out here somewhere. Nothing to... I would say nothing to freak out about, though. You know? All right. I want to get started. Hold up. I knew this thing wasn't fitting me correctly. All right. Pamela, what's going on? Morgan, what's poppin'? George is all good. Not much going on out there. We'll talk about severe weather coming up. We're gonna go over a lot right now. Marissa B. Morgan. We're about to go over a ton. Let me just let a couple more people get in here and we're gonna get started. Should we run the stream intro? I feel like we haven't ran that in a while. What do you guys think? Let me see something real quick. Source widget, alert bar. Why are my alerts off? Wait, old alert bar. Sorry, I'm just trying to figure something out before we get started. Oh, but oh no, it's on. Okay, never mind. We're all good. I think we're all good here. Yeah, we'll leave that on. Actually, we'll turn it off for now, and then. All right, hey guys, well, let's run the intro, and then let's get started. I got a lot to talk about. Alrighty, so let's do this. Take it to the bank, cash it. I'm always right. I've never been wrong about anything in my entire life. Everything I've ever said has come true.
We look a lot at
Pretty
the
much.
moon.
There it is. They look at the moon for our winter forecast.
We've had 4 or 5
Very soon.
this week.
Rain Mavs.
We'll do it live. We'll do it live. Daddy needs some coffee.
Oh, tornado warning. Update it.
Bob donated $1,000 and says, Connor, you are the best weatherman, and you're very
Thanks,
tall,
Bob.
smart, and handsome.
Tall, smart, and handsome. Yeah. Sounds about right. He must be talking about me. Okay, so anyways. And humble. All right. Let's get going. We got a lot to talk about. Sorry I haven't been streaming. Life's been crazy. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'll be streaming, posting all those days. And then usually on the weekends, I'll find a day to post and stream as well, depending on what's going on. Let's talk about severe weather. Let's talk about the temperatures ahead. Let's talk about the precipitation forecast ahead. And let's talk about hurricane season because we're a few weeks away. This is going to be a tough stream because it's been a little bit. We're a few weeks away from the start of hurricane season. And it doesn't look like it's going to be crazy, but we're going to look at some things. We're going to look at the top 5 analogs and see what we can expect from this hurricane season. All right, severe weather-wise, not much. Day 1, day 2, day 3, some marginal risks. Nothing really. I mean, here's what we're looking at today. Here's what we're looking at tomorrow. A little bit of a tornado risk. Southeastern. Here, let me actually get into here so you can see it a little bit better. Southeastern Kansas, west central Missouri, northeastern Oklahoma. Right in this little area up here. Okay. Nothing crazy. But we should be paying attention tomorrow anyways. Getting into our day 3. Actually, let's go back to the 1 to 8 day overview and let's push back out to national. All right. So this is today, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Nothing to worry about. Friday, well, we'll see. For the most part, nothing to worry about. Saturday, little bit of a slight risk that's starting to appear across portions of the central, really the southern plains, portions of Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas. Also, things get spicy as we get into this weekend and could be spicy all the way through next Thursday. I'm looking at Saturday through next Thursday or Friday as a potential for something, one of those like, we'll call it 5 to 6 days of like enhanced plus risks in a row. And why? Pretty simple. Let's go take a look at our 500 millibar height map. And let's zoom out a little bit. Continental. And let's just move forward a little bit. What's happening with our jet stream as we get into Friday? We start to see our jet stream dip a little bit. Let me open up my pen tool. Give me 1 second, guys. If I can find it. There it is. We start to see our jet stream begin to dig. And what causes a lot of severe weather outbreaks, tornado outbreaks, is when this, especially during spring and fall, is when this jet stream starts to dig into the southwest. It pulls that cold air out towards the plains and the moist and warm Gulf. And then you get a southwesterly flow that's going to give rotational shear to that clashing of cold and warm air. And that's exactly what's going to start happening as we get into Friday and Saturday. So here we go. We're going to move forward a little bit. We're going to push into Saturday. There it is. There it is. Short waves. Start to see some shortwave troughs. Now I'm going to zoom in. This is spicy. Potential to be the most significant outbreak of the year so far. I don't know if it's gonna, but potential. Here we go, getting into Saturday. You see these shortwave troughs. What are these shortwaves? Well, these are going to help with a lot of forcing out ahead of our main shear. This is where our instability is. These shortwave troughs are going to help force that instability up into the atmosphere, or up vertically into the atmosphere, and help to form our thunderstorms out ahead of our main shear. You can see our main shear streaks, our jet streaks back here down to the southwest as these shortwave troughs are beginning to form right out ahead of it. So we have this, and we got to look at this. This is 117 hours out on the GFS, but this would be some storms beginning to, this would be instability beginning to grow. This would be that forcing beginning to develop with the strong jet streak of shear right behind it. And then suddenly you can see why they have that day, day 6 slight right out here. This is where that jet streak would be moving into, and where those shortwave troughs would be kind of, again, developing that forcing. So anyways, that's what I'm watching specifically. So what time is this at? Let's see here. Right now we're looking at, let's move this forward a little bit, because this is when things would get really spicy, right about here. There you go. Shortwaves developing. There's your jet streak pushing through the Panhandle, Red River Valley, up into Oklahoma as we get into Friday night. They might move this slide a little bit as we get closer. This is the area that looks pretty sketchy to me right through there. I'll zoom in for you here. And let me redraw this. So this is Friday. No, this is Saturday, sorry. So on the GFS, why did that get so small? On the GFS, I'm watching this area right now for Saturday. All right, let's continue to move forward. Zoom out. Now we have that strong southwesterly flow. Southwesterly means winds out of the southwest, pushing across the plains, up there towards the upper Midwest as well. A lot of shear up there towards the upper Midwest, central to northern plains as well. We could get Nebraska, Iowa, South Dakota, Minnesota involved as we get into Sunday. But you also see some shortwaves developing across Oklahoma once again. So I don't know that this is over down here. There's a lot of area to watch out here on Sunday. We could have a risk zone that looks something like this. Really, really large risk zone Sunday, potentially. And then we get into Monday, and this could be the Big Daddy day. We'll have to see. But Monday, again, slamming shortwaves across the plains up through the Midwest. You're definitely going to have converging winds down here. You're very likely going to have some southerly winds off the Gulf, and then you have that pushing into that southwesterly flow of our upper level trough, moving upper level low, digging out of the southwest here. I actually want to, speaking of, let's go to the lower level pattern here, 850. A little bit closer to the surface. There it is, and there's your convergence. So surface low forming on the 850 millibar. There it is. Winds coming out of the south. And then because you have rotation, counterclockwise rotation around the surface low, that's going to converge with these southerly winds off the Gulf. And now we're looking at serious issues potentially across eastern Oklahoma, a good portion of Arkansas, a good portion of Missouri, a good portion of Illinois and Indiana potentially. So again, and the location of this stuff could change, but definitely a little bit currently with what we're looking at, a little bit sketchy through here on Monday. But again, time for things to adjust. This is pretty far out, so
we'll see some things adjust. And maybe the timing of our instability, of our shear, of our short waves isn't quite there. But what concerns me is there's a strong, large, what's the word we use in meteorology? That's right, robust high pressure right here. And, you know, we're in the northern hemisphere in case you didn't know. So winds go clockwise around a high pressure. And then you've got multiple surface lows forming along the back end of our 500 millibar jet here, which is going to be rotating winds like this. So you have, this is when you get a very, very strong trough ejection, right? I compare it to like when you've got, you know, that football machine with the two little spinny wheels, and then you put the football in it, it goes, boom, and it shoots it out. That's what happens when you get a large, robust, high pressure up here, and you got a strong digging trough out there, digging across the plains. You get a strong ejection across the southern plains, up through the Midwest into the Great Lake region. So dangerous setup here Monday. And then look at Tuesday. Tuesday could get spicy up there. Still Great Lakes, portions of the Midwest, and into New England. Yeah, you've got some short waves with some shear streaks developing across like PA, upstate New York, and Vermont. So we'll have to watch that. And then we'll see some interesting, another kind of surface low developing out behind that as well. So, yep. It's going to be quiet for severe weather for the next few days, but severe weather is returning. It is returning. 6 to 10 day temperature outlook. It's warming up for most of us. 8 to 14 day, it's warming up for most of us. Right now, it's, let me actually go to this. Let's go to real-time mesoscale analysis. Right now, it's hot out west, especially in the southwest. Real-time mesoscale analysis. What do we got here? Extreme heat warning. Come on. How hot could it be? Oh, 108 degrees. Yep. That makes sense. Extreme heat warning in Phoenix. We're pushing 108 to 110 degrees. We got extreme heat warnings out here in Southern California. Nice 109 degree reading there. 109, 110.6. Yep. I'd say summer started out here. Look at that. Cathedral City, 109 degrees. Los Angeles. Let's take a look at the valley.
New information.
Look at the valley. 95 degrees in the valley. Unbelievable. Downtown Los Angeles, 75, not bad. There's obviously a nice breeze coming off the water here. You can see it gets much cooler down here. Look at that. If you're in Santa Monica on the beach right now, it's 58 degrees. You just go up, 10 miles into the valley and it's 95 degrees. That heat is getting trapped in these valleys. You can see the heat trapped in these valleys. But it's going to stay hot out here for another probably good 4 to 5 days. We're gonna be pretty warm. But then we are eventually going to get that cool down. And just to show you that really quickly here, let's just take a look at our temperature anomalies really quick. And I'll get to answering questions here in just a second. Temperature anomalies. Ooh, we don't want that. Sorry about that. I never look at temperature anomalies on, there we go, on Pivotal, so I always forget where they are. All right, I always look at it on Weather Bell. There you go. Look at out west. Warm, warm, warm. Then you get a little bit, then you start to get that relief as we get into this weekend. Look at that. Nice cool air coming in. But there it is. That's what's going to trigger our severe weather, right? Look what happens as we get into Saturday. That cool air that begins to push in from the northwest. All this warm air. Look, you're getting these explosions of cold air. Probably the model thinking we're going to have some significant thunderstorms there. That's why. But there you go. Cold air pushing into warm air. And this is why I'm concerned about Monday. Look at this temperature. Look at this. 25 degrees below average in southeastern Colorado. And then you move over the border into Oklahoma and Texas, and we're pushing 10 degrees above average. So it's going to be some nice forcing, sharp gradient through here. If you get a good jet streak, this is going to be an active day. But I think most of the activity, right now at least how it's lining up, is going to be out ahead of this, which would be good. Out of the head of the main boundary. But we'll see again. This is still pretty far out. But that's what's going on with the temperatures. There will be a nice cool down again. You can see all that cold air pushing back into the plains and into the southeast. So summer's not completely here to stay yet, but we're getting pretty close. I know it's getting hot out there. All right, here is our precipitation forecast. Actually, I feel like I should have done this on Weather Bell. It's so small for you guys to see. Not much going on here over the next 72 hours, except for if you're down there through portions along the Gulf in Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi. And Florida obviously getting soaked, southern Georgia, and then some decent rainfall up there through portions of Massachusetts, Long Island, New York. What am I missing up here? Vermont, New Hampshire, Connecticut. So pretty good up there. Rhode Island, so I didn't want to forget about you. Central to southern Maine. Some nice rainfall up there. Some nice rainfall up there in New England over the next 72 hours. We could push out to 5 days. We're dry across most of the country still. Got some moisture pushing into the Pacific Northwest. This could be snow at the highest elevations, by the way, because of that trough that's digging in. Still a lot of rainfall, obviously, down there in the southeast. But, yeah, not much going on except for down there in far southeast and then up in New England and then, obviously, the Pacific Northwest. All right, let's talk about hurricane season. Let's talk about hurricane season. Here's what's been going on with our Nino 3.4 index. This is basically the main driver of what decides if we're in any Enzo neutral, El Nino, or La Nina. You guys notice anything kind of crazy about this? Anything stand out to you? I'll give you a hint. This thing shot off like a rocket. It's adjusted a little bit, but holy crap. Holy smokes. Look at what we've done. April 13th, in 1 month, we went from Enzo neutral conditions to almost a full-blown moderate El Nino. Right? Because this is Enzo neutral. This is a weak El Nino. We'll call it a when. And this is a moderate El Nino. Look how close we got in a month from neutral to moderate. That's crazy. It's adjusting a little bit, but it's going to go back up. Guys, this is going to be a super El Nino. I'm fully convinced that we're not dodging a super El Nino. We haven't had one in quite some time either. And we're going to talk about what that is. Guys, I made a post and I said, I don't know why we call it a super El Nino. We should just call it El Hombre. And I think I got about 2 reactions on my Twitter, and no one laughed at it. So I hope some of you found that funny, but I think it was a pretty bad joke. Okay. Big decider in how our hurricane season is going to be is, do we get some storms early on in the season? Because I promise you, we're going to have so much shear over the Gulf, Western Atlantic, and Caribbean as we push into late August and September. Storms are not going to be able to approach the States. It's possible, but they're going to have to sneak through a window. Thanks to Truce John. I appreciate that. Appreciate that. Hey, Jackie, what's going on? Hope everyone's having a good day. Good night. I thought it was funny. I was one of those 2 likes. Yeah, and B just likes everything I do because she's trying to support the channel, so she doesn't even count. Just kidding. You do count. Keep liking stuff. Anyways, we need to know where this Bermuda high is going to set up because especially in a down year where we're not expecting a lot of tropical activity, let me explain something to you. If our Bermuda high decides to fool around and we get a high pressure like this, now luckily this is 720 hours out on the CFS, so I wouldn't worry too much. But we get something set up like this, okay, where we have a high pressure system way off into the southwest, kind of a Bermuda high setup way off to the southwest. What does this setup do? Well, this is how it's going to steer the storms, just like that. Early season, where do we get a lot of our early season development? The Gulf, the Caribbean. Why? Smaller bodies of water. The equator feeds these seas, and they heat up quickly because all this warm water rushes into it and there's nowhere to go. Whereas the central Atlantic, the eastern Atlantic take a little bit longer to get unstable, a little bit longer for that heat to build up. So if we do get a strong robust. That's my word of the night. High pressure setting up down here in the southwestern Atlantic early on in the season. The CFS thinks we might. Anything that develops down here, it's not going to go here. It's not going to go here. It's going to go here. It's going to go into the Gulf. It's going to go into the southeast. It's going to hit New York City, landfall, major hurricane. I'm just kidding. Obviously, I'm joking. But no, we don't want this setup because you would get those early season storms steering into towards the states. And really just, towards Central America too. And obviously, all of our islands down here. So for Central America and the Caribbean and the U.S. sake, we don't want this type of setup. The CFS thinks we might have it. But again, and I've been saying this for months, if we're going to we have an opportunity to have some strong landfalling hurricanes this year. They need to be early on. They need to be like June, July, and early August. Because like I said, I think as we get into late August, our Super El Nino is going to be ripping winds across it. This is what a Super El Nino does. The waters are super warm, very above average in the eastern equatorial Pacific. And when you have warm waters in this area down here, you get a lot of convection. With convection comes wind shear, and that shear just moves over this area, and it acts as like a force field from storms. And that's why you get a lot. It's not, but listen, there's been strong landfalling hurricanes in El Nino years. There's been strong landfalling hurricanes in Super El Nino years. It's just a lot less likely. These storms need the timing of them. They need to get really lucky. Like sometimes you get a bunch of shear that moves through, a storm develops and it quickly skips, and then more shear comes through and it like just misses it, and then it makes landfall. They have to get lucky with their timing once you get a Super El Nino shear moving across this region. So, but anyways, if we do get a high pressure like this set up early in June, we're gonna see potential for hurricanes, tropical systems down here early season out there. I point it right at Texas, and they're gonna start going like this, like this, like this, like this, like this. Like this, just like that. They're all going to go right there where I'm circling. Anyways, so what else is going on? Well, let's look at our sea surface temperatures. Very warm in the Gulf. Once again, not something you really want to see. Let me move this out of the way. Can I move this over? Not something you really want to see. Actually, here, let me get it right into the Gulf. Let's just go North Atlantic's fine. You don't really want a super warm Gulf early, a super warm Western Atlantic. Why? Because this is where you get a lot of development early season. So notice it's very cold out here as well. So we're not going to get a lot of development out there in Cape Verde or anything like that off the west coast of Africa early on in the season. This is warm enough. Average temperatures in the Caribbean, a little bit cold out there as you get towards the Eastern Caribbean. But did you guys say Caribbean or Caribbean? Yeah, Hurricane Ivan was an El Nino. You can get strong hurricanes in an El Nino, but if you look year by year, and you look at the El Nino years and the La Nina years and the Enzo years, you'll easily notice a difference between I would say it's 70 to 80% of strong landfalling hurricanes happen outside of an El Nino, in a neutral or La Nina. Off the top of my head, just knowing year by year, I'd say it's 75 to 80%. But that's still 20% of them making landfall. Some strong hurricanes in a, super hombre. Super hombre. Yeah, that's what it might be. That's what it might be this year. If we get up to like 3 degrees Celsius above average. But yeah, this is warm, guys. This is very warm. So still, okay, super hombre, you know what I mean? Superman, Enzo, but this is very warm. You get a high pressure sets up here early season. Storms that develop right here, they don't need much time, okay? The reason storms have trouble in an El Nino, a lot of these storms that develop out here have trouble, is because it takes them like 10 days to get over here, and the chance that there's not strong shear one of those 10 days moving over its path, the odds of that is very, very low. There's going to be, that entire time it's traveling, something eventually is going to tear it apart. But early season, you have very warm waters, a storm begins to develop here. Storms can go from a tropical depression to a major hurricane in 24 to 48 hours if they have warm enough waters. And if that happens, then you could get a storm that forms and there's a little bit of a break from the shear for a couple days. It forms, it's a major hurricane, it makes landfall. It doesn't care that it's a super El Nino. So you got to watch early season, and we got to watch these really warm ocean temps. 7-day anomaly change. What's been happening over the last 7 days with these oceans? Well, staying very, very warm out here. Very, very warm. For the most part, the Gulf, Western Atlantic, still warming up. I don't know what the heck is happening out here off the coast of the Mid-Atlantic. Like, is there an underground volcano? Does anyone know? Anyways, yeah, warm up there. So, let's see. Anyways, this is, again, another reason we're going to be watching very close to home over the next month or two. Because if a storm is going to ignore our super El Nino and make landfall, it's going to be because of these very warm above average ocean temperatures close to home. So let's watch these waters. All right. Next. All right. We've looked at some of this stuff. This is pretty important here. Let me move on. What was I going to show you guys? We went over this. We went over the fact that we could have a $2 super chat from Cruz. Cruz, I appreciate that.
What you do? Collab one day?
Hey, yeah, 100%. I really appreciate that. Really appreciate the $2 super chat. Yeah, I haven't done many collabs. I've talked to people about collabing, but yeah, I mean, I've collabed with Mezzo, Mr. Mezzomat, but I haven't really collabed with a lot of people. That's something I'd consider moving forward. This is interesting stuff right here, guys. Cruz, I appreciate you. This is very, very interesting stuff here. Top 5. These are our analogs. So if you most of you probably understand what analogs are, but this basically says with what other 5 years in history, in our recorded history, did we have conditions, atmospheric conditions that were most similar to what we have right now? Analogs are by far the biggest cheat code in climatological forecasting and we'll call it outlooking. Because we can look at there's been times in the past where we had these exact same conditions, not 1-to-1 exact, but there's been times in the past where we had ocean temperatures that were very, very similar to what we have here, right? We can look back and say, when did we have a year where we had ocean temperatures that were very above average in this region, a little bit cooler up there, northern NPO off the coast of Alaska, pretty warm out in the Western Atlantic, and you can find years that were very similar. And you can find years with, upper air patterns that were similar as well. But what this site does is it does it for us. So let's take a look at this. This is our tropical development. These are our top 5 analogs combined. Our top 5 years that are similar to this year combined, and basically this is telling us what we should expect based off of the other 5 years that had very similar climatological conditions to ours right now. So, what happened in these years? I bet no one's surprised. Not much. Blue is above average tropical activity. And blue is below average tropical activity. Look at that below average tropical activity in the Atlantic, practically the entire Atlantic. These are our top 5 analogs. So the 5 years in history that had the most similar atmospheric and oceanic conditions to what we currently are experiencing. Interesting. A little bit of activity out here, though, huh? A little bit of activity up and down the East Coast. You can also see some of these tracks out here with these analogs, too. It's showing the actual hurricane tracks from these years. And look, there was a landfall there. 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 There. At least, and then there was a few out here. You can see there were a few out here. So there's still landfalls in these 5 years. There's actually a lot of landfalls in these 5 years, but what it looks like is these were probably weaker storms, especially this one these were formed very close to shore. Sometimes these can strengthen quickly, but a lot of these were probably pretty weak. Maybe not, though. Some of these that formed down here in the Caribbean that made landfall could have been stronger. I'll have to look back. So our analogs were, if we take a look at the years, 1972, 1982, 1994, 1997, 2015.
New information. This severe thunderstorm warning has been updated.
2015. Let me look at something. 2015 hurricane landfalls. Did we have no major hurricanes made landfall in the United States in 2015? Wow. That was marking the 10th consecutive year without a major hurricane hitting the U.S. mainland? Wow. Yeah, so there you go. There you go. Not expected to be too crazy, but there's a lot of landfalls from these years still. So that's what I'm saying. If you do have very, very, very warm waters, above average waters in here, and you get these, you can still, I guarantee you a lot of these that you're seeing here, a lot of these landfalls that we saw, these other analog years, I guarantee you a lot of these in here were early season storms. And I don't know if the waters were as warm in the Gulf these years as they are right now. So if we get a pattern like this early season, they're going to make landfall, or they're going to try to. So all I'm saying is below average hurricane season. Yeah, that's what I think. I do think that's going to happen. Doesn't mean we can't get a strong one early on. Yep, you can see the analog years up here: 1972, 1982, 1994, 1997, 2015. If you want to screenshot that, you guys can look up what happened those years. I'd be interested if someone were to look at those years and did we have a major hurricane landfall in any of those years? I'd be willing to say we probably did. I'd be willing to say we probably had one or two major hurricane landfalls in those years. 1994, that was the year after what? What was Andrew? Oh, was Andrew 91? Or was it 90? I thought Andrew was 93. Oh, it was 92. Whatever. I'm the worst. I know, guys. I know. I don't know anything. I don't know anything. I thought I saw 2018 at first. Yeah, Katrina was 2005. Yeah, not just Katrina that year. Was that not Wilma as well? Katrina, Wilma. What? 2005 was a crazy hurricane season. It was 2004 to 2007 were insane. But 2005 was a crazy hurricane season. Yeah, because I was living in South Florida at the time, during the early 2000s, and it was wild. It was wild. Yeah, that year, wasn't Dennis was a Cat 4. We had Dennis. We had Emily that was a Cat 5. We had Irene that was a Cat 2. We had Katrina that got up to a Cat 5. We had Maria that was a Cat 3 that year. We had Rita that was a Cat 5. We had Wilma that was a Cat 5. Wilma's still the strongest hurricane in history ever recorded in the Atlantic Basin, pressure-wise, with the central pressure of 882 millibars. I know that off the top of my head because Hurricane Wilma went over my house, and we didn't have power for 2 weeks, and my school roof collapsed, and we were off of school for a month. It was awesome because I was a kid and I didn't have to pay for any of it, and I got to get off school. And that was also the year that there were so many hurricanes, they had to start using Greek letters. So in 2005, they ran out of hurricane names, so they had to use Alpha, Beta, Gamma, Delta, Epsilon, and Zeta. That was 2005 was a crazy year. But 2004 all the way to 2007, that stretch of 4 years was wild. By the way, all La Niñas and neutrals. None of those were El Niños. Yeah. 2005 was insane. I think 2005, well, it was the most deadly and damaging year hurricane-wise. It was the most costly year hurricane-wise in U.S. history. Obviously, Hurricane Wilma. I don't even know how much Hurricane Wilma, billions of dollars. Hurricane Katrina, billions of dollars. Hurricane Wilma was hundreds of millions, if not billions. I think Hurricane Wilma ended up being billions as well. Maria was bad. There were so many bad ones that year. So anyways, very interesting stuff here. And let's take a look also. This just, if I'm correct, NMME. I feel like I'm the freaking fish from Finding Nemo. Anemone. NMME. This just, I believe, means North American Model something. This is our model. This is our North American model we use for tropical stuff. Okay, that's all this is. Just so you know. Sorry. It sounds like you're singing Mambo number 5. Dun, yeah. Good song. So here is our SST anomalies, top 5 analogs. What's SST mean? Sea surface temperatures. So yeah, Super El Nino. We're probably going to see something like this. Very warm temperatures out here. Once again, this is why it's hard for strong hurricanes to make landfall in the States. If it's very warm out here in the central and eastern Pacific, you're going to have a lot of convection, a lot of clouds, a strong subtropical jet stream that's going to rip right through here across the Caribbean Gulf, Western Atlantic. And good luck to any storm that forms out in the open Atlantic getting through that shear. Sometimes there's a little window and they sneak through. Most of the time they don't. But again, that doesn't stop storms that form really close to shore sometimes. Sometimes the shear south of them, they'll if the waters are warm enough, they'll run right into the States. You don't get an unlimited amount of those storms because one strong hurricane is gonna cause a bunch of upwelling. A hurricane that moves slowly over a body of water is gonna take all the warm water off the surface, cold water from beneath it. It's gonna bubble up, upwell, and so you typically don't have an unlimited amount of storms that can form in the Caribbean and Gulf because you get too much upwelling. You have an unlimited amount of warm water out here in the open Atlantic because you have your equator. It's constantly feeding warm surface water. You have the warm air of the Saharan Desert and Africa pushing off the west coast and warming up the surface waters out here. It's unlimited warm water out there. Once these waters really warm up as we get into late July and August during hurricane season. So years where you can get this going and you don't have a ton of shear, La Nina years, it gets bad. But we're really to get some strong hurricanes this year. Like I said, we're going to be watching close to home. We can get a few. All right. I think that's most of what I wanted to talk about. We're going to be, listen, I think I've been saying it. I think we're going to get a couple, I don't know if we're going to get a landfall early, but I think we're going to have an early scare this year. I think something's going to happen. I wouldn't be surprised if we get our first little tropical cyclone forming here in a couple weeks, just because of what's going on in the Western Atlantic right now. We're hot as crap around the Bahamas. And it does look like, based off of the CFS and some of the other ensembles, we're going to try to get a nice little high-pressure system developing right off to the east of the Bahamas. And that's a recipe for maybe an early tropical storm landfall, something like that, right? So I'm like really watching right out here early on in the season. We get our high-pressure early season, Bermuda-like high setting up here, above average waters. Our Super El Nino hasn't kicked on yet. Let's watch the southeastern coast early on in the season. Predicting where there's going to be like tropical landfalls is so hard. It's not like winter forecasting or anything like that. This is pretty difficult, but that you got look at where the warm water is and look at what's going on with the Enzo. And look at what's going on with your Bermuda high placement. Those are the only three things you need to pay attention to. Do I think severe weather will start to ramp up for Ohio soon? What is going on with my... You know what? Actually, I haven't been streaming that much. I was like, why do I only have 30 people in my TikTok live? But I forgot. They're punishing me because I haven't been streaming as much. Guys, all right, we're going to talk about severe weather real quick again. I'm going to try to stay consistent Monday, Wednesday, Friday lives and videos. And then I'm going to be going live and doing a video over the weekend, most weekends too, either Saturday or Sunday. It depends. If there's nothing going on a Saturday, but a lot going on a Sunday, then I'm going to be getting on Sunday. Same thing if it's a lot going on a Saturday. I'll just kind of play it by ear. Yeah, we have a little bit of an active setup coming up here. Little bit of an active setup ahead. Why? We were just talking about this. As we get into Saturday, here we go. Start to see some short waves that are wanting to eject across the southern plains. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go right in here. Starting to see some short waves trying to eject across the plains as we get into Saturday. I'm really watching this area right here. You can see that jet streak pushing across Texas, up into Oklahoma. So a little bit spicy. You see a lot of divergence happening up here as well. This is probably going to be some heavy rainfall. I think the severe weather is going to be to the south because this is where we're going to have kind of more of a baroclinic boundary forcing setting up. This is probably going to be some rainfall up to the north. Actually, let me take a look at this really quickly. let's just actually quickly go over to precipitation. Let me see what this looks like. Yeah, okay, so not surprised. We're seeing rainfall up here. I don't think this is necessarily going to be severe on Saturday up there to the north. Maybe. But watch as we move forward a little bit more in time. Watch the south. Oh, wow. It's capping it. The GFS is capping it to the south. Nothing happens. Well, we'll see if it stays capped or not. But this is the area to watch, I think, Saturday. We'll see if it stays capped or not. Still a little bit far out, you know. Still a little bit far out, so we got to watch what happens. But we're gonna see some good severe weather, or bad severe. If you don't like severe weather, I'll call it bad severe weather. Some significant severe weather as we get into Saturday. That's gonna start to set up across the plains. Sunday starts to enhance. Potentially, we get a little bit out there towards Illinois, Missouri. You can see some short waves beginning to develop out here as well with a little bit of a jet streak. And then you see what's happening out here on Sunday. So let me actually push this a little bit forward and highlight again where I think we could be watching Sunday. We could have a pretty nice... We might get a risk zone right out through here on Sunday. We could get a pretty large risk zone. That's a nice southwesterly flow, and you can see some short waves developing all the way up and down the plains right here. Right here. And we're going to have a baroclinic boundary set up right where that jet streak is. So I could see us getting some sort of risk zone out here on Sunday. And then Monday is when I'm really, really watching. And this is when stuff starts shifting out west towards the Midwest, towards the Great Lakes, Ohio. I know someone asked about that. But Monday, really probably going to end up being Tuesday for you guys. But Monday, this looks like the day. This looks like a significant severe weather day. Could be one of our severe weather outbreak days. Definitely through here. Oof, looks real spicy right in here. Definitely, right? So that we could end it. This could be like a moderate enhanced and a larger slight around it, right? This could be a pretty big day. I don't want to just start drawing everywhere. And then you get into Tuesday, and then this is when you get strong jet streaks, some divergence, a little bit of a short wave developing out here across portions of Illinois, Kentucky, Indiana, Ohio, Michigan. So that might be a day for some significant severe weather, especially a wind threat, although there could be a significant tornado threat as well. You see a high pressure down to the south, low digging. You're going to have that ejection and vorticity along this line here. So, Yep. So that's Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and then Wednesday, a weird westerly flow that could actually some significant short waves across the plains again on Wednesday. Maybe we get a little bit of severe weather up there in New England. This could be a split day. If this happens like this, we're 200 hours out now. Who knows? But if this happens like this, we could have a split day where we have severe weather in the plains and then in the mid-Atlantic in New England. So I'm telling you, getting into Saturday, we could see, I'm going to say it, 6 to 7 days, straight days of severe weather. Don't say it. How hot will it be in the Mid-Atlantic next week? I thought that said I saw my girlfriend's 12Z. I was like, what's your girlfriend's got a 12Z? I saw GFS 12Z push hundreds in some areas. Was it really? Let's see. You were saying next week. Yeah, I mean, look at that. 20 degrees above average. 20 degrees above average in the Mid-Atlantic next Tuesday. Yeah, I mean, it gets hot. I don't know about that hot, though. Here, Weather Bell's way better at this. Let's do that. Let's do Weather Bell. I'm going to look at the Euro. Let's do Weather Bell. Wait, why isn't this? Why is it so zoomed out? What the heck? Weather Bell? What's going on? You're not supposed to look like that. All right, anyways. Let's take a look at... Yeah, let's just take a look at the Mid-Atlantic. 12Z Euro. Let's see what the Euro thinks. Ooh, 95 degrees across Virginia. Mid to upper 80s across portions. Oh my gosh, look at that. Almost 95 degrees in Philadelphia. 90 degrees in New York City. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty warm. Pushing 90 to 100 degrees in some of these areas. Got 96. Yep. That's next Monday. And then look at that. Yeah, pretty warm. And then look. And then you get back down into the low 50s, high 40s. Pretty warm. Look at this cool down right before all that, though. This weekend. A little bit of a cool down. All right. We got to check. All right. Yeah, Cruz. All right, well, that's what's going on. We're going to be talking about hurricane season a lot more on this channel coming up because I love hurricane season. It's the reason I ended up going to, it's the reason I originally went to school for meteorology, because I love hurricanes. I wanted to be one of those hurricane hunters, you know, fly into the hurricane, drop barometric pressure reader, send it back to the NWS or National Hurricane Center. Jackie, Andy, what's going on? So I love hurricane season. Hurricane season is my bread and butter. Unfortunately, it's probably going to be a boring one this year. Well, or fortunately, you know, we don't want death and destruction, right? Right. Hearing about potential frost advisory over the next few days in PA. Yeah, there's a little bit of a chill coming through in PA. I know. There's a little bit of a chill coming through. Let me go back here. I don't know why this is zoomed out like that. Weird. Yeah, look at this. Look at these temperatures. You're getting below freezing across portions of PA tomorrow. Yeah. Then cold once again. Look at that. Getting into Friday. But the heat's coming. The heat is on its way. As we saw right here. It's a coming. What's happening with hurricane season 2026? You might have missed my spiel. So I'll let you know really quickly. You know what? I'll summarize my spiel. And we'll just look at this. Here's top 5 analogs. What they expect. So the top 5 other years in history that most closely match our atmospheric and ocean conditions that we're currently experiencing. So the blue is below average tropical activity. So this is what's expected this year. Below average tropical activity in this whole region. Maybe a little bit of above average tropical activity off the coast of the states. Off the coast of the southeast here. Western Atlantic. Off the coast of the Carolinas. But for the most part, super El Ninos, there's going to be a lot of shear. A lot of shear out here. I want you guys to notice something else that I didn't actually point out earlier. Look at the amount of storms. Look at the amount of storms in these. This is just 5 years of storms. Look at these. Do you guys see that area? Can you see this? I got to zoom in for you. Hold up. Look at this. This is just 5 years. This is where all the tropical activity it is. El Ninos are very, very harsh to the Pacific. Super El Ninos in particular. Get some storms that get dangerously close to Hawaii. Look what happens too. This is just 5 years. Almost 2 landfalls in California during Super El Nino because you have such warm waters out here. So, yeah, Eastern Central Pacific will be active. Western Pacific will most likely be active as well. But we are not expected to be very active. If we're going to get a strong hurricane, if we're going to get a couple landfalls, they'll likely have to be in June, July, and early August before Super El Nino really starts to crank up the shear over the Caribbean, Gulf, and Western Atlantic. So watch early season hurricane season. That's when we're gonna. That's my prediction. How long will the heat stick around for the Northeast? The crazy super heat, just a few days. It'll move back out. It's not gonna be. It's not like a big heat wave that's gonna get stuck. Like there's not like a high pressure system that's gonna get stuck over you guys. You can see it here. Look, it's gonna move in. You get really warm 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, 4 day, and then look, you get cool again. cool wet, and then you're almost 20 degrees below average again. So yeah, it's still fall. Transitions of warm and cold air. Yep. All right, guys. I'm going to hop off. I'm going to upload a clip of this in case anyone missed it onto my YouTube so people know what I'm talking about when it comes to hurricane season and some of this severe weather that we could have out ahead of us. So later in hurricane season is a good time to go to the Caribbean? I would say so. I would say so. Or, you know, it's tough, though, because typically hurricane season really gets cranking in September and October, especially September. But when you have a super El Nino, even just a strong El Nino developing, you get a lot of shear over the Caribbean that time of year. Which it's not great for cruising either, but it does help. It does help to tear apart any sort of system that tries to form in the Caribbean. It does. It is hard for any sort of tropical activity to get spinning, to go through any sort of cyclogenesis down there once we get our strong El Nino in place. And that's gonna be happening as we get in August. Late July. This is Pivotal. I use a lot of different sites. Pivotal Weather, Tropical Tidbits, Weather Bell. This is a pretty cool one. Right here. What site was this from? Let me see. Hold up. What site was that from? Yeah, this is Tropical Tidbits as well. So, which is pretty cool. You go into analysis tools in Tropical Tidbits. By the way, you see the shirt he's wearing? Look at my shirt. Florida State, baby. Yeah. Florida State. Great event, Florida State. All right. But yeah, go into analysis tools. You can see the top analogs for hurricane season right here. And you can see the water temperatures. How hot are our waters? You can see what ENSO we're going into a super El Nino. Once we get above 1.0 here, once this blue line gets up there, above 1.0, we will be in moderate El Nino conditions. But for an official technical transition, we need to be there for at least 3 months. It's complicated stuff. Complicated stuff. All right, everyone, enjoy your nights. I will be back. I should have a video out in the morning on Wednesday morning. Try to get it uploaded by 7, 8 o'clock, 8 a.m. on Wednesday. Probably going to be talking a little bit more about our potential Friday and Saturday severe weather threat with my Wednesday video. And then we're going to live stream Wednesday to talk more about hurricane season and the severe weather that we have ahead. Night beat. No problem, no problem. Appreciate you guys. Good to see you back on. Yeah, feels good to be back. We've got to be consistent. And, yeah, I'm excited for hurricane season, even if it's not crazy active. There'll probably be some wild storms out there in the Pacific we'll talk about, too. And May's got a little bit more juice in it for some severe weather, so we'll be paying attention. Appreciate you guys. Everyone have a great night.